Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Sunday Morning Quarterback. Today we are four pastors who love ministry, leadership, and sports. We've been on a little bit of a summer break, but football is on the horizon. John, how's it going down there in Virginia today?
Man, great weather. Virginia Tech lost, got some fans really trying to pull it together. Didn't affect attendance, though, at church, so we're pretty excited about that.
Gosh, you and Adam must have some hurt church members. Adam, were they crying on Sunday?
They were. I had a few that we had a low attendance Sunday. I don't know if it's because it was Labor Day weekend, and I don't know, but they were pretty upset. But the weather, as John said, me being a little bit towards the east, it's beautiful here too. It's fall. It's going to be like mid 70s all week, so we're excited.
That's funny. And Paul, are you coming from your North Georgia location? How's everything going in your new sanctuary?
Good, man. So far, so good. Things are still slowly coming together over there with touching up things here and there, but otherwise it's raring and going, man, and it's been great. Really thankful for it, man.
Very cool, very cool. Well, for those listening, we're going to start off with our sports segment, and we're going to give our predictions. This is one of my most favorite episodes that we do, just because John has informed me that we need to check the tape. So we're going to put something on tape this year, but as we go through the season, we're going to come back and check the tape. So we'll make all of our NFL playoff division winner predictions. We're going to make our college football 12-team playoff prediction. And then on the back end, Adam's going to lead a segment on ministry seasons as the different ebbs and flows. So if you come here just for the ministry section, you can fast forward on to the middle. But let's jump into football, fellas. Adam, why don't you take us in? Let's start with college football as we are through week one. Saw a lot of interesting turnouts. What jumped out to you?
Well, there's a lot of storylines, and I think, anybody who watches the national radio pundits, and probably a few of you guys will mention the big ones that everybody's talking about. So I want to just give a generic one because I see a lot of the power programs. They're struggling right now, and I'm not going to name names, but even some of those that didn't lose on Saturday, they came very close to losing games that, they should have won by 40 points. And so if that's going to be a trend, here's what I think is going to happen. This is the new college football playoff format. I either see that playoff expanding to 16 teams, or I see in like 10 years, there's going to be like a regionalization of all the conferences because, there's only but so many seats around the table of the college football playoff.
Yep.
And I think that happens at the same time that now we have these super conferences. A lot of people are going to get left out, and I'm all for it because I love the parity. I don't like that whoever spends the most money is expected to win in the era that we're living in. So I see that happening, and maybe we're seeing early trends of that with some of the upsets we're seeing.
John, what stuck out to you?
Well, I want to tag in on that for just a moment. I think they'll go to 14. I could be wrong here, but I think they'll probably go to 14 by 2026 for the same reasons. I think you're going to have these growing conferences. People don't want to get left off the table, but they still want to keep their conference champions on a bye week. And so if you go to 16, you miss out on some of that opportunity. But if you stay at 14, this possibility. I just want to jump in on the fact that Florida State is just riding this train all the way into the ground. What
100%.
happened there? Like, what are we even doing here, man? This is Boston College. Like, come on, man. That's just that's a tough situation. I got good friends that are Florida State fans. It's tough to watch, especially after last year. But in addition to that, man, overreaction. USC comes out and puts one on LSU. I'm going to overreact just a moment. I think they're going to put up a better season than last year.
Okay.
So to John's point, the Florida State thing, I mean, he named the name, but they're trying to get out of the ACC, and they lost to basically bottom dwellers of the ACC in week 1 and 2, like John said, a year after being undefeated. So that's what I mean by that. So, yeah, John's spot on.
Yeah, Florida State, you just got to ask, how many times are they going to try to retread Ugalele? He didn't work at Clemson. He didn't work at Oregon State. I mean, Mike Norvell thinks he can put him in his offense, and he's just going to fix it. But that whole thing was just a mess. And so Norvell, who was once a darling, is now on the hot seat. And speaking of hot seat, I think the two that's got me the most curious is how funny that USC and LSU, these two guys come into these power programs, and you're starting to see Brian Kelly get a little bit chippy. The newness was weared off, and Louisiana, it's put up or shut up. So if he don't get in the playoffs, I could, see an early exit for him. USC, I mean, I know they lost Caleb Williams and underachieved, but Lincoln Riley's going on year 3 there now. And so he's got to win with less. So curious to see that. Another one I'm keeping an eye on is Texas A&M. They got too much money up there in oil land to keep underachieving. So can they finally live up in this post-Jimbo era? But I think the one that we're all talking about coach-wise is Dabo Swinney. Man, he can't adapt. He don't want to do the portal. And personally, I think Dabo would be better in the pros because he's more of a rah-rah guy, and you can have your X's and O's. And he is just swimming in these deep waters of portal. And I think what it's done is it's leveled the playing field. And so some of these teams that, may not have been able to get these recruits, they can now because of money. So those were some of the things that caught my eye. And then obviously Colorado barely escaped one. They might have a tough year. But Miami looked good, Paul. Did you enjoy that from your Miami U?
Oh, of course, man. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, I understand that, year after year, Miami's had its struggles and all the rest. And you wonder, okay, was Florida that bad? And that's not to say that, Napier doesn't have his work cut out for him. I mean, Florida does not look good at all. But man, what I saw on the field, and I think anybody who was watching the game could attest to it, like the kind of poise and dominance that Miami just demonstrated throughout the entire game. Like this wasn't hey, they fought like dogs until the third quarter, and then Cam Ward was just really that much better. And because we landed him, then in the fourth quarter, they pulled it out because talent just pushed you through. No, this was a complete domination on the field, both on the offensive and defensive side. And good night. Like I was just impressed by how Miami was just rolling through every single quarter through there. And mind you, like Xavier Restrepo almost threw a touchdown. Like that tells you something about what's happening, not only with that offense, but how bad Florida was. And it would have been a 48-13 game, but it didn't turn out because Restrepo's not a quarterback. Okay. So let's just say that. But man, it was awesome for Florida. Game opener to be handed the worst loss on record is a massive statement for not only Miami, but for the Gators. Like, it was wild to watch, but great to see.
Yeah, yep. Y'all are running the table. So it's going to be an interesting year as we approach this 12-team playoff, and this will be something that will, in the past they've done these rankings, and so I'm not sure how they're going to roll this out or if they're going to keep a updated list. But let's just go through our off the top of the head shotgun top 12 predictions. John, we'll start with you. Rattle us through your teams who you think will make.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty no-brainer with Georgia, Ohio State. I think this is Miami's year, as Paul was talking about, because you got Clemson struggling, you got FSU just falling off the table, Alabama, Texas, Oregon, Notre Dame. Unfortunately, they just need to join the conference.
Yeah.
Penn State, Utah. I think Memphis squeaking in from the AAC. Ole Miss and Kansas State. It's going to happen, guys. You're going to see it.
Whoa.
Who else is going to beat them?
So you're saying they're going to
above the at-large bids.
Yeah.
Conference champions are going to make it before the at-large people. It's just the way it is.
Adam, any thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with most of what John said. Obviously, the power schools are there. I will differ in saying that I think, this is going to sound crazy because the rest sounds so normal. Something needs to sound different. But I think Kansas is going to make the playoffs. I think right now the Big 12 is so weird with so many new teams. And while all that was happening and Texas and OU were leaving and other schools were being added, Kansas kind of was rising out of nowhere. And they've got the coach that just, he's got them rallied. So I'd like to see that. I also like what John said about Penn State because I don't see Michigan being able to come close to last year. I think it's just too much change. And they obviously didn't look very strong this past weekend. So everybody's been waiting on Penn State. So now we've got an expansion. Why not them? But Memphis, man, saying that in an App State hat, Liberty
What happened, man?
Liberty went undefeated last year.
True seat.
Memphis come involved into this. I mean, it's like I'm going to say Liberty. It's going to be it's difficult to go undefeated, which is basically what those kinds of schools have to do. So I'm going to say Liberty as that final non-Power 5 one to go with.
My list is a combination of y'all both, but I think this will be the year of the tension between, do we let the conference winners in even if they're less superior, or people are going to be complaining because too many SEC schools, maybe 4, maybe 5, the Tennessees, some of those fringe that have more losses, but they've beaten better teams. But I do they're going to look for any opportunity to let Colorado in if they can, and they'll probably let a Liberty or a Iowa or whoever can go undefeated. And so I think we'll get basically the same thing. That'll be the interesting thing. Is it going to have the March Madness effect where you get some upsets that you wouldn't see, or is it like mass annihilation until the semifinals and the finals? So Paul,
that's the thing, when I opened by saying what I said this past weekend, I'm literally looking at some of these power schools schedules, and I'm just like, I don't see it. I mean, even though the team is very good and they have a good coach, 10 wins is still like their ceiling. So we'll see.
Yeah. Paul, you got anything different than those two guys?
I mean, I don't know if I would add one team. I would add that I think it's worth looking at and giving serious attention to is Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss is actually going to be pretty good this year. Outside of that, I mean, you've got similar of the teams that I would put up there as well. I'm excited to see Miami get up there for the first time if they can. You're going to have the same old story between Georgia, Alabama. They'll be around. Notre Dame, I think.
I'm curious to see if Alabama falls off a little bit, though, because even though they made it to the championship last year, if they try and take that Michael Penix West Coast system and plug this guy in, I don't know how that'll go. And so we'll see if there's any fallback. But the SEC coaches like Ole Miss, and this is the year. No more Nick Saban. You got Kirby to deal with, but there's one less giant. So I agree with you there.
Yeah. Either way, we can just all affirm that Texas is probably going to win a national championship this year. I'm just going to lay it out there, man. They're the team. That's the squad.
Gosh,
I don't know, man.
That way, Adam can get that Texas championship merch.
Hey,
hey, if Arch Manning's as good as everybody said he was, I mean, it took him like 3 years to start. So that's all I got to say. So anyway, all right. So that's the college side of things. Let's shift gears toward the pros. And I want to start this off because I've been telling y'all it's a different year. It's a different day. And so let's we've had a little bit of movement. We saw Trent Williams signed a contract today with the 49ers, and I'm sure the Bengals are going to get Jamar Chase signed, and so all that. We see CD finally got signed, which, of course, my dad was in the motherland last week at Cowboys practice, like 5 feet away from Micah and Jerry. I wish you would have given Jerry a little bit of advice on how to run a franchise, but neither here nor there. Let's start with our NFC divisional winners, and I'm going to go first to show y'all transformation has set in, and I'm a changed man. My NFC. No, this is a year of clear-headedness and seeing straight. It doesn't change the love, but I'm not blind to reality. My NFC East prediction winner is the Philadelphia Eagles. I think we're on like year 15 of there being a different winner each year, which last year Philly had that division locked in. Everybody was like, this is the year the streak's going to end and win 12 in a row, 10 in a row, and then they just fell apart. And so obviously on paper and talent-wise, they got the better team. Now, the question for Philly is, did they have bigger problems beneath the surface? Was the Super Bowl year an outlier with the offensive coordinator? Or is Jalen Hurts regressed, and is this who he is with the coach? There's obviously a little tension there. So I got Philly. I got the Lions in a close one. Some people were picking the Packers, but I don't think they're quite there yet because they're young. And then I got the Falcons. Man, that division is trash, Adam. So bad, that division. And everybody's buying the Falcon stock. They got a bunch of talent. And then I'm going to stick with San Francisco. I think there's some good young teams in the NFC West. And so that's my West side. We'll do NFC first, and then we'll switch over to the AFC. Adam, who you got for the NFC division winners?
Well, I'm glad to hear that you have finally come to planet Earth and have entered into reality in the way that most people with common sense who watch football think. So my take is I agree with everything you said, every single team, and that's all I'm going to say.
Oh, yeah, you should be so proud. John, what you got?
I'm not going to agree with everything. We can agree that the Cowboys are going to lose again, as they do. I don't know if we have to even debate that, but Joe's not here, so we'll save some of that for the next time. I think Philadelphia is definitely the team of the East. I think if you're looking at the West, the 49ers, I don't think anybody else got any better in that division. So I don't. It's pretty easy. With the South, I don't think it's going to be the Falcons. I still think the Bucks are going to continue to rule and reign there. This would be year like 3 or 4 that they would win it. I think Baker Mayfield is the guy, and I think he's going to show up. And I don't the North, and that's the interesting one because I was really thinking about it. I didn't put the lines down. I was thinking, Green Bay is really good. They got this leprechaun that they pull out and find a new quarterback for the next 20 years, and they just keep doing it over and over again. I am curious to see if the Bears are as good as they're expecting to be. I think there's a lot of conversation around Caleb. I don't know if he's going to be as good. I think I'm going to have Green Bay just by the slightest of margins based on proof.
Proof of that annihilation that we saw in Jerry World.
Call it what you will, man.
Yeah, I was always a fan of their quarterback. I thought he always had a whip. He just had to kind of settle in. I think you're going to see that from Caleb. You're going to see some high highs. You're going to see some low lows. You're going to see some 3, maybe 4 interception games just because of how he is. But that one will be fun to watch. Paul, you got anybody coming out of the NFC different? Who you got?
You got Chief Chargers. They're going to be up there out of the West.
All right, yeah, we'll.
Oh, I'm sorry. Which one?
We're still in the NFC.
NFC. Man. Hey, he just wants to talk about his Dolphins.
He's got Dallas coming into the first spot.
You got anybody?
No,
who are your divisional winners in the NFC, Paul? Anybody different?
Not necessarily. Who knows? Eagles look good. I think they will pull it out of there. Although, I'm not saying. I think you might be humble. I don't know, but maybe the Cowboys. I'm not going to jump in there all the way, but who knows? Maybe
hey, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to lie. I would rather have a burn it down year 5-12 compared to what my dad wants to go to 10-6, 11-5, and then losing the first round. So that's me. I will root for them when they win, but I'm pulling for them that they lose.
Okay.
Paul, why don't you shift us over to the AFC and you can tell us about what you think about your team? Why don't you give us your division?
Yeah, let's talk about the Dolphins, Paul. Go ahead.
Yeah, let's hear about the Twins.
What? Look, why not actually give these guys an opportunity to move through? Why not? I would think that they would come out of the AFC East above the Jets, above the Bills, above the Patriots. Why not? I think that it can actually happen that way. So I've got them going through there, and if there's any reason for us not to think that, then just look at last season, and I think you can kind of see the offensive weapons. If everybody stays healthy, I think you got some really good opportunities to see the Dolphins go through there. Ravens are Ravens. I think they're going to be really tough. So looking at the North, I think you got some serious contentions between them and the Bengals, and we'll see how that shakes out. South-wise, Texans are good. Jaguars are good. They'll be close up there probably. And then the Chiefs are, unfortunately, a team to beat.
Lock.
What else are you gonna do with all of that? You got the Chargers up there that are gonna be good, I think. So, if that's the case, that's who you're gonna have coming out of all of that. I think you'll have, playoff wise, Chiefs, Ravens, Dolphins, Texans, Bengals, Chargers, Jets is what you'll more than likely end up seeing. I would hope.
Here's my only thinking, Paul. I was really stuck on the Bills and Dolphins because both of their defenses have actually gotten worse. The Bills lost their safety, Boyer, whatever his name is, and then the Dolphins lost some pieces on defense too. But I like y'all's coach, and so I think y'all's best shot is you got to get home field advantage because you can't go in the cold. So because of the defenses regressing, I'm going to stick with the Bills. Baltimore, which the real question of the season is, can Joe Burrow stay healthy? I would love to see a Joe Burrow MVP year. I wouldn't be shocked if they pulled it together and if they won that division. Baltimore, though, they got Derrick Henry. And so that'll be fun to watch. So I'm running Baltimore. I'm going to go upset here. I'm going to go the Colts winning the South. They were a really good team last year. I had a really good record. And you're seeing all this hype around the Texans, almost like some people are like almost Super Bowl sleeper pick. But man, they got a lot of egos. They got Stephon Diggs in there now. You got some bigger names. Will their quarterback regress a little bit? I don't know. Adam's still salty that he could have been playing for the Panthers. But I don't know. I don't know. Let's see how he can handle that one, that new coach. And then obviously the Chiefs. Adam, how do you see it?
Yeah, the Chiefs are there. I'm gonna say Baltimore, but I think the storyline is Pittsburgh, and that's where my eyes are gonna be. Because I think most people see, Tomlin as a great coach. The Steelers obviously have a huge fan base, and that situation there is so unique because you've got a seasoned, proven veteran who probably will go to the Hall of Fame, trying to keep his job from a young gun who's healthier and obviously can carry the franchise for a longer time. And then we just talked about Caleb Williams, who has not twice, but 3 times the weapons that Justin Fields ever had when he was in Chicago. So that said, I'm going to go Baltimore. I think this NFL year is almost boring because we're all kind of saying the same thing here. I'm going to go Buffalo because I don't know a single other person on that roster, I don't think, other than Josh Allen. They've got Josh Allen, and they've got a good but not great coach, so I'm going to go Buffalo. And I'm going to go with Houston. Again, kind of the boring pick everybody's making, but they showed out at the end of last year, and they're all young. So that's why, I'm just going to roll with them. I think we'll end up rewinding you saying the Colts. So let's just tab. Where are we at here? About 30 minutes? Okay.
Yep.
This is what we'll come back to. You saying Indianapolis makes the playoffs.
Hey! I'm trying to live on the edge a little and not make the boring picks. But let me say this real quick before I hand it off to John. I don't know if you've seen Pittsburgh's schedule. It is brutal. I mean, they may win 5 games. I mean, whoever made the schedule, they just had it out for them because it is
just like UF.
Gosh, it's bad. John, what you got?
Pretty much a lock with the Chiefs. I think that's pretty good. I want to say the Colts. I think you need a little bit more time to review Richardson. But I like Jacksonville this year.
Ooh.
I think Trevor Lawrence is going to have his year. I think this is their year. So I'm going to push them into that spot. This might be something we come back and rewind and say, you're an idiot. But I'm happy to wear that hat if it comes up. I'd love to see the Bengals pull it together, but I think this is also the year they may realize that they need to look for the next Joe Burrow. The injuries it's just tough, man. Okay. When he's playing well, but he's just not playing. And that's just tough, for a franchise to sit on really good talent and then kind of wait on a guy that can't stay on the field. So I think the Ravens are going to pull it together. I will say for Lamar, it's Super Bowl or bust at this point. Like it's time to really put it together. And I think if you're looking at the Fins and the Bills, they were close last year. Both of them lost pieces on defense. The Fins upgraded on the tight end position, which I think was their Achilles heel last year with the addition of Smith. I think that edges them just over the top. And I'm with Paul on this, that they're going to win the division by just a game.
So let me ask y'all this just real quick, Adam, John. Do y'all think this is Chiefs? Do you think they can three-peat, or are you taking the field?
Yeah, as long as Jesus doesn't come back and Pat Mahomes has a pulse in February, that's who I think is going to win the Super Bowl. So,
John, you think they got a shot?
I don't because I think it's going to be a little bit more. They've not been bitten by the injury bug like every other team. I think they're due up. I think that's going to be what that really slows them down later in the year. I think it's going to come down to I think Miami's got a good shot playing in the Super Bowl this year. And I think in addition to that, if you're looking, and I was back and forth on this, I think the Niners scrap their way back into it, but I think the Niners can beat the Fins based on defense.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I think this will be the last year San Francisco can really pay all those pieces, or they're going to, they just paid IU, they're going to pay the quarterback, and so it's win now. And so I could see them clawing their way back. I could see San Francisco winning it this year. I could also see Adam was talking a few weeks ago about Kelsey being on tour, not lifting. He's like 37. I could see him coming down with the injury. And if you got Pat Mahomes on a bunch of nobodies, or one of their D tackles, I could see that. If I had to pick somebody out of the AFC right now, that's not Kansas City, I'd like to see Baltimore or Cincinnati get back. But Cincinnati, man, it just feels like it's been forever. So I don't know that I'm quite ready to make my Super Bowl pick yet, but it will be fun seeing which rookie quarterback has the best year. If it's Bo Nix, if it's Jay Daniels in Washington, hear a lot of good things coming out of there. So we'll be talking about that in the weeks to come as we got opening week. And so we'll keep the tape, and we will be coming back live every week for the football season and giving our reactions. So let's transition to our ministry and leadership segment. And Adam is going to lead the discussion for this particular Adam.
Yeah, as we think about the start of the football season, and we've talked a little about the weather changes, we also know that in the life of churches, there's kind of ebbs and flows, different seasons of ministry. And so what I kind of like to flesh out with you guys, as at least here at our church, like we start back Wednesdays tomorrow night, something that I'm always a big proponent of. I'll start some men's discipleship tomorrow night, but it's also a busy time for our family. So what I want to kind of hash out with you guys and just hear your wisdom is, in the midst of the different seasons of ministry, how do you kind of correlate that to the different seasons of your life, your family? All of us have children, and I don't know if yours are all like ours. I mean, they're getting thrown into sports and gymnastics, and even at church, their schedules pick up. So as things are changing, how do you wed personal and church life together? And maybe that'll help others who serve at your churches, maybe staff members at your churches, things like that.
Paul, you want to jump in? Or John?
Jump in here, talk through this a little bit. Yeah, I think fall obviously picks up the scheduling quite a bit. Our family operates really well when school picks back up. I like the natural rhythms that it creates with the more standardized footprint of when we get up and when we go to bed. It's good for my kids. It's good for us. I think looking through it, I think we started off with kind of the December timeline in sight, and we just try to push with as much energy, and then get to that deadline, and you feel like you collapse there for a moment. At least for the kids' schedule, slows way down. My schedule remains about the same, or maybe even upticks quite a bit. What I find interesting is the rhythms and pace. Instead of trying to create balance, maybe early on in ministry, I was trying to create a balance, like, oh, I need to spend this much time here and that much time there. I guess as I've gone along, I've been able to appreciate the rhythm. And so the rhythm of fall is one of my favorite rhythms, because there's an excitement and a joy. There's refreshment from vacations. People are really pushing in and plugging in. For a lot of students and kids, there's opportunities to share the gospel in among their friends and stuff. And so I get picking up on that buzz and activity. But I think we also don't overplan our schedule at our church. We're not driven by event after event after event after event. So you kind of feel like you're just in this laundry basket, like, when am I ever going to crawl out? And so I think if you can create a healthy rhythm and then look for pockets of rest, and I think for us, our family, Saturdays through the fall are fairly well guarded. I try not to schedule anything on that time. Try to take in a couple football games. Try to do some stuff out in the fall weather. Try to do some, making some s'mores, different things like that. And so I think at least in our family, that's what we've been able to issue out some.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I know I was thinking Joe would be with us, but he and Pam, I think they go away like to Florida or Hawaii every January, right after Christmas and all of the events. And I've always seen wisdom in things like that. It's kind of knowing yourself and knowing those rhythms that John was talking about. But Paul, how about you?
Yeah, man, that's it's really neat to hear you say that, John, because I know, like, I think it was a while back when we were having that discussion with man, I forget his name now, Dr. What was it, Joseph?
Cockrell?
Dr. Cockrell. And I remember we had that conversation some time ago. So it's just really encouraging to hear you talk through that and think through that from the time before to now, which is really neat. But man, yeah, Adam, I mean, I appreciate the question, man, because you're talking about how do you wed everything together, because we have our responsibilities that we have as pastors, and then we have our ultimate responsibility, I think, as followers of Jesus, and then husbands and fathers and all of that stuff is, super important. And then how do you not, exchange one for the other and still find a way to keep your head screwed on straight by the end of December kind of thing. And so it's a really thoughtful question, man, for all of that. I think John said a lot of it. And I think the word that comes to my mind, John, when you were talking, is just being, very intentional with how you approach those rhythms. And just embracing it. I love it. I love how, like you said, Adam, like Wednesday starts kicking back up, which for us means like equipping classes and youth ministry. And it's just fun, and it's just nice to know that that's part of it. They enjoy looking forward to that after a season of just being off from all of that stuff.
So
I think,
Paul, talk about, you sent me something a week or so ago. It's your checklist of like your to-do list for the day.
yeah,
And there's not a lot of people do that. That used to be, I think, more common. But I was joking with you because you had in your to-do list to make a to-do list or something like that.
yeah,
Talk
yeah.
talk about maybe that part of I mean, that's not a season, that's a day. Why do you do that, and what do you benefit from that?
I do it just for the very sake of knowing what I'm going to do and what to tackle. Because if not, I am literally the victim of everything that comes at me. And if I take everything that comes at me, as a high priority, and I've got to do something now, then inevitably I will neglect something that I either knew I had to do or heard from either my wife, from my kids, and that'll kind of get pushed to the side. Or I think to myself, I can't think through this. I have to just do something. When oftentimes, whenever I just react to it rather than actually plan and think, and actually, okay, how can I meaningfully put some time into whatever is coming in my direction? Then I will literally become overwhelmed with everything, forget it. Or if I'm the kind of person, I don't like conflict, so I'll just put it away and pretend it doesn't exist. And I can't do that, because then it ends up falling apart for someone else, and someone else got neglected or whatever.
Mhm.
And so I have to remind myself, plan your day, because if you don't, as the adage goes, your day will plan you. And then before you know it, your week just runs away from you. And so I can't just not start off the day knowing what I have to do. And some of that just takes time to just make time to actually sit down and write what you have to do.
Mhm.
And that's just basically, that's why I do that, to put that, okay, write it out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hey,
Um,
I could
I
just
mean,
ask.
I know it sounds simplistic. These are things that, we were taught to do, or at least shown how to do when we were in elementary school. But, Paul made a few good points there. There are certain things that emotionally we might put on the back burner, and we might, as he said, neglect it or allow it to
mhm.
grow and spawn into something new that it shouldn't,
Yeah,
because we didn't prioritize it in a proper manner. And, again, it sounds simplistic, but just by writing out what you need to do, not just chunks of times and meetings and things, but
yeah,
things you need to personally accomplish, I think that's helpful.
yeah. What were you gonna say, John?
I was going to ask Adam because I think he maybe is the only one that has experienced this. What is the difference between being a single pastor church and moving through seasons like this versus a multi-pastor or even multi-staff church?
Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah, previous churches I've been at where I was the only staff person, period. Honestly, it's pretty much the same because it's calendar driven. And so those calendars are dictating for me, and where I'm focusing my time and my thoughts. What do we have to accomplish? So yeah, it wasn't really that much different. There's obviously no delegating going on when you're the only, staff person, and even volunteer base is a little different, but it's not as big of a situation either that you're trying to walk into.
Yeah, I was just wondering because I don't go to everything, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
there's
yeah,
yeah,
multiple of us, so I feel like if you're the single guy, you kind of have to be at everything.
yeah,
So it dictates your calendar a little
yeah,
bit more than say five things get planned for this week. I may have to be at one of those things,
right.
yeah,
but not necessarily all five.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
What
it's pretty much the same. There's just not as much going on, so give and take.
One of the things, Adam, my mind took me to a different place. Obviously, we talked about the pastoral side, but my mind went to the ministerial side. I'm sure you guys feel this tension of, not necessarily church programming, but the everyday things we do: worship, Sunday worship, Wednesday worship, and then small groups and things like that. And it just seems harder and harder, where we are having to compete with all the things. And some churches have had to really like pull back and meet less, or do community less. And so I was talking to somebody today about how to balance that. And I love the saying, I don't plan church around things. I plan things around church. And so I think just teaching our people, hey, church and following Jesus is a part of, it's got to be the center of your ebbs and flows of life. And so keeping that thing circular, faith in the home and in the body, I think it's a new way of basically like the church not caving. Like, hey, I know you got stuff, but we're going to be here. And if you got to be gone, that's fine. And we'll be here when you're not. Like, I was counseling a family yesterday, and they're like, hey, we serve on Wednesday night. I'm a student leader, and our kids are here, but ball team is extending practice on Wednesday, and they're telling us we gotta, miss the first half of church or get kicked off the team, and it's for X amount of weeks. And so I think our people are being really, really pushed to really look in the mirror, and a lot of them are firmly held there. But it's like, do I want to get little Johnny kicked off the team? And in the short term, it might stink. In the big picture, does it really affect anything? And so I think just the church is having to, some of our small groups have started meeting biweekly instead of weekly. Not necessarily to the pressure of stuff going on, but in today's day and age, I always say whatever event, service, anything you have, 100% of the time, 20 to 25% of the people won't be there. And so when you do that weekly thing, if it's small groups, it can actually hurt the morale of the groups, because you got that two to three consistent families, and then everybody else is on a treadmill rotation of who's in. And so for us, we just said, hey, it helps our groups and our hosts, the ones that are hosting and leading the groups, to be healthier and to feel less burnt out by doing biweekly. And so we just kind of shifted to that. And at first it was like, are we being sacrilegious here, or are we caving? And so I don't know, what are y'all's thoughts? So that's the flip side, that's the ministry coin. Any thoughts on any of that?
I guess I'll go first.
Go ahead, Paul.
And then Adam and John were looking around thinking their thoughts. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, some of that really is contextual. For me, man, I just think in my mind, there are very few things that I think really do help and are part of what is church life, and one of them is community. And if I'll say this, if you're going to agree to say together as a group for the benefit of how we grow as believers, community has to happen on a weekly basis, so that we don't feel like we're alone, or we're isolated, or we're in some sort of place where we become really unknown to the church, and you miss out on what I think is healthy rhythms to have that. Because even within those groups is where you find an ability to be able to find community, accountability, and sharpening. And if at the very least you're just getting a little bit of Bible intake, twice a month sometimes from other believers, that can be really hard up for your spiritual growth, where like I need it. Like, I need my community group on a regular basis. That's not to say there's not going to be moments where I'm on vacation and I miss, or this, that, and the other. But if you're going to agree to do it weekly, do that. If you're going to agree to do it bi-weekly, then by golly, be there, kind of thing. Because if not, then it's once a month. And dude, that makes it just even harder and harder for you to gel together, for you to build some sort of vulnerability, transparency, everything else, and even find accountability within those moments and pockets that, quite honestly, in most other aspects of how we do things, like there's a required schedule, a required time, or there's a required, like there's commitments, there's things that you sign up for and say, this is how I'm going to do them, and this is what we're going to agree to. And so, however that begins, that's what I mean by context. I think that's it. You need to make sure to commit to that and do it and be a part of that. it's just, man, the average already spooks me when it comes to just Sunday attendance.
Yeah.
You add that to community groups, and it really starts to, man, like being a follower of Jesus is being part of a community. I mean, it's not analogous to it, right? Or however the word is. Forgive me if it's wrong. It has to be synonymous. To be a follower is to be in community. It's hard to separate those two things, and so you need to be, I think, committed to that if you're going to be a part of it.
Paul, I probably should have shed a little bit more context on that. So our context is, some would say, ministry heavy. So like primarily I'm talking about home groups. So like a lot of those people are going to like weekly women's ministry, weekly men's ministry. Some of them go to weekly Sunday morning Sunday school. So those are continuous. But we've had to kind of flex, because some of the families that, I'd say some of them go to all three, and it's like, hey, I'm not, just pick one and go to one.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so it's a certain element of it. Like Sunday school classes are meeting weekly. Men's and women's ministry are meeting weekly. And a lot of the people that are going to the quote unquote home groups are in one of those. So it's just, like I said, context is sometimes as your church gets bigger, you got to have more options. And sometimes the options got to look different. So that's a little insight.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, that I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Any thoughts from y'all?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree on the community being essential for the life of the church. Community, not in the sense that it all has to happen in a particular group setting or whatnot. I think we should create intentionality before and after our services, encourage our people to spend time, to linger, to not rush off into the next thing or move to the next thing, or hey, my time's over and I got to get out of here immediately. And I've seen some fruitfulness from that. Well, at the same time, we've definitely dropped in a few more after Sunday opportunities for fellowship and just a chance to hang out. So we don't do a Super Bowl watch party, but we do a like a meal after on the Super Bowl Sunday to be able to get people together, get people to hang out, have some goofy games, things like that. So in a relaxed environment. On Wednesday night, we do a meal here. I know that's probably 1960s, like what's going on. But it's a great opportunity for us to be able to sit down and just have a meal together. Allows me to meet with a lot of people where it's not 3-minute conversations on a Sunday morning, and to talk to their family, for them to get to know my family, and things like that. And so I think there's a lot of value in that. And I would say that and in the working from home, the remote, the lack of, with a fragmented community that exists now outside of particular areas, outside the home, really for a lot of people. I think the church has a great key right now that it's holding.
That's right. Yeah.
Needs really leverage that opportunity to say, hey, look, you've been at home all day for the last 5 days. Why don't you come join us and make connection? And then people get into those and they realize, wait a second, I'm in desperate need to spend more time with people. I've been by myself, except for with my family most days of the week. And so I would encourage churches and pastors to think of more creative and driven opportunities to promote community, whether that be in the addition of some programming to allow that, or some events that would cater to that slowing down pace, or maybe it's just the chance to emphasize that it could happen in and around the church gatherings, with the chance to say, hey, why don't you look for somebody to take out to lunch after this? And those types of things. So I think we really have a corner market that we should lean into.
Yeah.
Adam, got any final thoughts?
Nothing to add. You guys knocked it out of the park. I agree with all three.
Hey, John, real quick, we are doing an event, a community-based event, but got the idea from my dad. We call it Who's Coming to Dinner, and you got about 8 host homes, and everybody signs up for dinner, but they don't know where they're going. And for a multi-service church, so you get a text at 4:00, and you bring a side, a drink, or a dish, and you get sent an address, and then you pull up, and hey, here we are. And so it's neat, man. It's really cool. We've seen so many friendships and community things birthed out of that. So it's called Who's Coming to Dinner. So for the host, you don't know who's coming. I just send them a list. You're going to have 6 families, and here's the amount of people. The church provides hot dogs and stuff like that. But it's a good way just to flesh out, generations and and you can put people together. And so anyway, it's neat. We've had good success with it. So
Do you provide like anxiety cards and everything else like that with it too? Or?
You'd be surprised, man. They'll give it a shot. And so we do like mixers and stuff like that. And we've had good success with it. So anyway, but I love the conversation out about ebbs and flows as pastors and as church members. So, hey, we'll be back next week. We'll be talking NFL Week 1 and a little bit more about church and ministry and leadership. Everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
Go Panthers.